Hello everybody. So there's a few things I want to discuss in this video. Um, and I know I've said a lot of this before, but I feel having a video and a resource like this that you can keep referring back to as you need is going to be very useful. So we're going to look at weight loss, how it works, plateaus, and of course biomarkers. Um, and each three are very different for every person, so different. And when we look at weight loss and getting weight loss results specifically, we have to understand that what works for one person will not work for the other, and that there are a lot of variables, and that we need to do a little bit of trial and error to get to the bottom of what works for you. Now, some people are very lucky and they're blessed with good levels of testosterone, can build muscle easy, have a good metabolism so they don't have issues with thyroid. They sleep very well and they just respond to everything very well. And there are people like that. Unfortunately, they are few and far between, but they are there. The majority of people have some underlying kind of resistance or handbrake playing against them when it comes to weight loss. It could be thyroid, it could be stress of some sort, it could be an autoimmune disease, it could just not be sleeping well or some sort of bad bacteria. But we have to understand that just because your friend or your neighbor lost weight every week since September and you maybe have fluctuated is not reflective of you being a failure or of you not being successful on your journey. It's just reflective that your journey is your journey and your journey is not your neighbor's or your friend's journey, if that makes sense. There's so many variables involved, of course. Nutrition is a big one. Sleep, inflammation, water retention, stress being a huge one, thyroid, the weather can play a part. Everything can play a part. So when I look at weigh-ins on a Saturday morning, most people will weigh in, or most of my clients will do some sort of weigh-in. And I can take a few examples. So maybe one lady weighed in and her monthly cycle had just began and she woke up after not a good night's sleep. The odds are playing against her there. So maybe the scale says she maintained that Saturday, but reflective on what was happening in her environment, we understand that, well, had she not had an flow visit and had she had an awesome sleep, she maybe would not be retaining water or inflamed and would in fact have been down on the scales. And this is very important. And this again is very individualized. Some women do not have a problem and will still continue to lose weight when they're on their monthly cycle. Because again, some women are just blessed. They don't have thyroid issues, they don't get many hormonal fluctuations, they don't retain water too much, and it's very individualized. Whereas some women, and I think they are blessed if they maintain around their period, because there is a lot of going on there with hormones and extra fluid and even a bit of inflammation, and increases in blood pressure and body temperature are very common around that time of the month. And of course that is going to be reflective when you step on the scales. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? So we have to really take everything into consideration. A poor night's sleep, it's one thing that I will always refer to in myself. If I do not sleep well, I will get very inflamed and I'll feel it everywhere. And there's no point in even weighing when that happens, because I know it's not going to be the outcome I would like. So again, being very reflective of everything that's happened. And then there are, of course, a few things you can do to kind of tip the scales in your favor. And I think people underestimate the strength of stress on the body. I really do. And I've done a stress podcast explaining what stress does to the body. It's not just an invisible emotion, it's a whole chemical reaction with a whole cascade of things that happen after it. It will put your body into survival mode. It will cause your body to store fat. It will slow down your metabolism. It'll slow down your thyroid. It'll contribute to bowel issues. It'll contribute to malnutrition. It'll contribute to inflammation. So there's so much. So stress, not to sound like a broken record though, but if you're having a very tough time with stress, but your nutrition and your movement and your water were awesome, yet the scales on Saturday still did not give you the outcome you were hoping for, you really need to take into account this stress is not helping with my goals at all, and I need to address that before I can expect changes. Another thing, and I really, really, really want to highlight this, there are all different types of stressors on the body. Some people very sensitive to stress, some people not. One client mentioned that she wanted to try an F45 workout on a Friday, and I encouraged her to postpone it till Saturday because those workouts are very, very strenuous, and I knew it would inflame her body and she would not be happy on the scales on Saturday, considering we had been trying to kind of push her weight loss a bit more. And because of that, we were able to get a very nice outcome on the scales this morning. There are also other clients that I've seen take on harder workouts like CrossFit and F45, and they're very intense and they have a lot of impact on the body. So don't kid yourself and think, oh, I'm getting a workout in, so I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to be burning more calories. Those type of workouts do a lot of damage to the body, so they do cause a lot of inflammation. They're a major stressor on the body, and they will cause you to bloat and retain water. But another thing that people forget, and it goes kind of undiagnosed, as we'd say, is, and this really drives me mad, because if I could go blue in the face, I probably would from saying this. If you are sick, if you have any sort of stomach bug, or you have a cold or a flu or food poisoning or diarrhea or anything like that, that is a stress on your body. That also is a stress on the microbiome. So not many people put much thought into this, but if you think about it, you are two different entities. You are your physical human cells, and you are also millions and millions of bacteria cells. So you are two in one, if that makes sense. Now, if you get sick, your bacteria get sick, and there's a lot more of them than there are of you or your cells. So if you bloat and you're sick, they're going to bloat and they're going to be sick. And all of this is going to contribute to a temperature as your body's under attack. You're going to get a lot of inflammation. You might get mucousy and phlegmy. You might have diarrhea, or you might have bloating and water retention, and you might feel puffy. And all of this is reflective of a bad bug, and your body is at war. So when it's at war, it's in survival mode. When your body's in survival mode, it's stressed. It's going to slow down your metabolism. It's going to cause you to retain fluid. It's going to cause your body to say, shh, let's not burn fat because we might need that at a later date. And it's going to cause you to retain. And this is not just for a few days. This will be the duration of when you are sick, plus a few days preceding that as your body kind of adapts to homeostasis again. So if you're sick, you have a flu or a stomach bug, and your food has been good, or maybe you're not even eating as much, because this will happen, and you're drinking and you might be sleeping a bit more, you can still not lose weight, even if you're not eating that much because you're sick. This is not news. This is not unusual. This is something that you really need to take on board. I'm going to stress this because I have in my career had people get angry with me and lose their temper with me because I explained to them, you're not losing weight because you're sick. Like, you're very, very sick. You have a flu, or you have tonsillitis or something. What you expect? But they'll still lose their temper with me because they're disappointed. So I really want you guys to take this on board. Then when everything is going great and you're not sick and you don't have stressors and everything, you're obviously going to be super, super smart, and you're not going to mess about on Thursday and Friday in any way, because those are the 2 days that you want to be extra vigilant. You want to watch crappy added salts and MSGs and sugars where they shouldn't be sugars, like in wine or beer, or picking at snacks. Like, of course, it's reflective on how much you want to get to your goals. How eager are you to be successful in your goals? If you're like super eager and you're like, I want this so bad and nothing's getting in my way, then you will take on board Thursday and Friday are going to be your most vigilant days. You're going to be so focused so that you get that nice result on Saturday. And you do that and you most likely will get a positive outcome. And I say most likely because there are some things that are out of mine and your control, like poor sleep or the moon or a storm or a chinook or all this stuff. So there's always going to be something that could get in the way that we cannot control at all. So please, please take everything I'm saying in this video on board. Apart from that, a lot of my clients have seen some fantastic results lately, like really fantastic. But I still want to highlight a few things. So although we're monitoring the scales and we monitor it, it's a tool. And there's a few people that I've said no more weighing for you because it's just, they have a bad relationship with it. A lot of people have some sort of negative relationship, but then they get over it. They can accept this is just a tool. It's just going to aid me in my journey. But some people don't get over that relationship, and it just drives them into a deeper kind of darkness in regards to the scales. Now, not many, like 3 people I've had to say no more scales for you, so it's not too many. But in saying that, most people are pretty good with the scales, but we can't forget our biomarkers, and this is very important. And I know I've said it all the time, but we cannot forget our biomarkers. So when we look at weight loss and the physical makeup of an individual, some people are tall and more boxy, or tall and lean, or tall and muscular, or small and muscular, or some people are normal height but maybe have weight around their hips and arms, or some people maybe just have a lot of weight around their belly. Anyway, that's why it's helpful for me to get before pictures or to meet people in person, so I can see, oh, she's holding weight here, that signifies this or this or this or whatever it is. So depending on where your weight is can be kind of reflective of how easy or hard your journey might be. But I do like to remind people that if you have fat around your midsection, okay, and it's more of that visceral fat. So the visceral fat being the fat that is surrounding your organs, that's the dangerous fat. That's the fat that's associated with ill health. If you have more of that, we understand that that type of fat is the first type of fat that you will lose. Okay, so let's all be quiet and slow down and listen to what I'm saying. If you have a lot of visceral fat, that is the first type of fat that your body will tap into and burn for energy. Because that fat is so deep within the body, it has so much blood flow and vessels and circulation that it's easily broken down or liberated and used as energy, which is awesome. We want that because we need to get rid of that fat for health. That's the dangerous fat. So we lose that first. Now, if you're someone that has a distended belly, so men with round bellies, if you have that and you maybe don't have a lot of fat on the outside, with a pinch test, you could pinch your ribs or your sides and you don't have a lot of fat on the outside, but you're very round, that signifies that there is a lot of visceral fat there and it's pushing your muscles and your ribs out, and your organs are getting pushed out because you have all this fat underlying. So you want to get rid of that first. That means that even if the scale starts moving down and your shape is not changing, that's okay, because the fat that's in there under the ribs and under the muscles is being burned away, and you can't see that because that's right inside you, but the scales might be coming down. So this is just an example of one way that we like to monitor biomarkers. So then the scales is moving, but my shape is not really changing. I'm not seeing a change in my clothes or anything, but I'm starting to notice I'm getting some shape around my neck and my collarbones, which is wonderful. That is a sure sign that we are tapping into visceral fat. Now, once all that visceral fat is broken down, then we go in and we aim to tighten up the muscles to bring your organs and everything back together. And then we start tapping into that subcutaneous fat. So that's the fat that we can touch on our arms and our thighs. That's that fat. Then there's also the scale's not moving, but you're seeing the changes in your clothes and your skin is great and your sleep is great, and maybe you have gone down 3 or 6 notches on your belt, and that's not an exaggeration, that happens, but the scales has only moved a few pounds. That's okay, because I will always stress my approach is health first. What's the point in losing weight if you're unhealthy and you're going to drop dead? Like, that's just stupid. So health first is how I work. So I understand that if I start to give your body the correct nutrition that it needs, which is not difficult, we can support your methylation pathways, so how your body exchanges certain molecules and creates energy. We can help with the detoxification pathways. We can help build new cells, skin cells, hair cells, eye cells, muscle cells, tissue all over the body. And if you are doing some sort of weight training or resistance training or some sort of movement, new bone, definitely new bone. And you have to understand that this is all going to be reflective on the scales. If you're working out a lot and you're awesome with your diet, it is going to reflect on the scales, because the more good nutrition you give your body, the more it's going to regenerate and rebuild. So that's going to be a lot more new tissue, a lot more new cells, a lot more new bone, and that all has a molecular weight. That is going to reflect on the scales. Just because the scales does not move does not mean that you're not making progress on your journey. The way I design all this and the way I teach is always health first. Even if the scales does not move, you have made a decision to improve your health. So your nutrition alone, even if the scales doesn't move, you're improving the quality of your life and the resilience of your body and your overall health. So I do encourage people not to get too caught up on the scales, because I do believe, and I do have some testimonies that say what I teach it actually does work. So I wanted to highlight that as well. Seeing changes in your face and your skin and your neck, and even the top of your belly, if you see it starts to flatten down, kind of like gravity's pulling stuff down, that is another sure signal that you've tapped into those deeper fat stores as well. So all this taken into account, all the variables and all the different things that could impact your weight or aid weight loss or impact health and support optimal health. There's so much involved. It takes a lot of fine tuning. That's why I created the HEATIT guides. There's a lot of different eating styles. There's a lot of Does this work for you? Does this not work for you? Your body doesn't like that, or this seems to work really well for you. There's a lot of that. Even when I do my private coaching, unfortunately, and I will say this, unfortunately, when you have a reputation for getting good results, people expect to hire you and get results straight off the bat, get amazing results. People do get results with me. It doesn't mean there's no trial and error, though. We have to see, does fat work for you? Does it not work for you? Do carbs work for you? Do they not work? Higher protein might work for you. We have to check everything. We have to be ticking boxes and doing a bit of trial and error to find out what works for you, so that your body can work in sync with the protocol we go with, and that then will make things, one, easier, but also sustainable. You'll do it forever. If you hire me for 4 weeks or whatever, don't expect miracles in 4 weeks. Yes, I'll get you results, but you didn't get ill or overweight in 4 weeks or anything like it. It takes time. You have to give the body time. You really do. You have to, maybe you'd start off on a higher fat diet, but at the end of it, you realize a low fat diet is what works for me, or a higher protein is what works for me. So you really have to give your body time. Please be kind to me and don't lose your temper with me. I'm just trying to support you. That's all. I'm just trying to help you find the way of what works for your body. So I will just say that as a side note, because some people do get cranky with me when I'm just here to help. And yeah, really watch this. Take on board, watch this again, take on board all these different variables that could play a part. And there's so many that I haven't listed, and that's why you can message me so I can reflect on your overall week. There is one thing that I'm going to say which is quite funny, okay? Please don't have a shower before you weigh in the morning. Let's just say a Saturday morning. Please don't have a shower. Please do not do that. Wait till after you weigh to have your shower. Because your body, your skin is so porous, it acts like a sponge. Believe it or not, you will, even if you dry yourself off, your body's going to be holding on to a lot of water in between those skin layers and in your hair and everything. That is going to reflect on the scales. So if the scale says you're 1 pound down, and I believe you should be a lot more than that, 2.5 pounds down, it's probably because you're having a shower before you step on the scale. So please don't do that. It can actually make quite a difference, especially if I'm looking for your most accurate body weight. Okay? And that's it. That's all I have to say right on this. I think I covered everything, and if you have questions, please do reach out to me, but I think I've said what I've been meaning to say. Keep the faith, understand all the variables, constantly reflect on your biomarkers, be nice, and we will get you your results. Okay, bye.